Hello and welcome back to Green Money Momentum, where we talk about market movements, making money, and money momentum. I'm your host, Trevor, and we are here for yet another daily talk of stock. And today it is Friday, May 16th, so the last day in the trading week, and what a day it was. Very, very green to finish off what was a very green week in the markets. And so we know recently the markets have seriously started to rip up like crazy. A massive rebound. The major indexes have already gotten back to where they were at the beginning of the year, erasing most of their losses up to this point in 2025. And investor sentiment has gotten a lot better as well. Recently, we were all the way in levels of extreme fear with a reading of 4 to now we are all the way over at greed with a reading of 71. And so if you have participated in this recent market rally, congratulations, because this is what the markets are all about making money. And so talking about making money, we're going to be talking about 3 plays on this channel that have recently made me a lot of money in the year of 2025, and I believe have a lot longer of a way to go. And that's going to be BigBearAi, D-Wave Quantum, ticker symbol being QBTS, and then also Soundhound AI. And so we're going to start out here by looking at the Big Bear. And so Big Bear today had a pretty flat day. Big Bear dropped by just a cent. So right now, as I record this video, just about 2 hours after market close, Big Bear currently sits at a price of $3.63. Not too much movement. Again, down just a cent, not even down a percent. And when we look at Big Bear in the recent term, we could see that Big Bear is right at this major support / resistance level of 375. So just the other day, we tried to tap up at the resistance of 450, but we did get rejected around 430. And so 375 was the major support, but Big Bear has fallen below that as of just the last couple days. And I personally think Big Bear could drop a little bit more, but this isn't negative. I am overall very bullish on the Big Bear over the long term, but what we have growing here in Big Bear appears to be a rising level of support. So I can see Big Bear dropping back down to maybe around $3.25 or $3.35, and then having a bounce off that rising level of support. And so with Big Bear, there has been some recent momentum in this stock. As I say, we have started to rebound back up, and this is very positive because as of recent, the Big Bear has been under a lot of fire. If you type in Big Bear on Google, I did a Google search, but for the past 24 hours, we could see that Big Bear has been under a lot of fire. And so if you just type in Big Bear, all the news surrounding Big Bear has been lawsuit, 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 lawsuit. And this is just because Big Bear had to refile their K-12. And so all these lawsuits going after Big Bear overall hurting the sentiment in the Big Bear. But what is positive is investors are still loading up into the Big Bear, and overall I think that the Big Bear is going to get through this lawsuit. I don't think it's going to be too bad. I don't think Big Bear personally has been dishonest with their accounting, maybe a little bit sloppy, but I don't think that they were trying to totally screw investors. And when it comes to these high flying volatile AI stocks, them being under lawsuits is nothing new. So the company Zeta, I remember listening to a podcast with the CEO of Zeta, and he was saying how there was a lot of short sellers in Zeta, and then all of a sudden they put the company under a lawsuit. Someone filed a lawsuit against Zeta, and with the shorts and the lawsuit, it really hurt the stock's price. And so I believe that's a lot of what we have seen with the Big Bear. Let's remember all the plays that we're talking about here, Big Bear, Soundhound, and D-Wave Quantum, have high short interest. A lot of shorts are in these plays, and funny enough, all 3 do have lawsuits against them. But with Big Bear, if you look past the lawsuits, this company actually has a lot of intrinsic value behind them, and they work with a lot of big players. So we know they work with the U.S. government. They just recently got their big contract with Austal USA, but they also work with a lot of other big players as well. So they do work with Amazon, and they are also partnered up with Palantir. And so they provide Amazon with some solutions to help with their predictive modeling and real-time analysis to optimize logistics and warehouse operations. And so Big Bear has a lot lot of intrinsic value behind it, and investors see that, and the Big Bear is saying, I don't care about these lawsuits. I'm going to continue to rise. And it does look like it could continue to rise also, because despite a lot of the market getting overvalued, Big Bear currently still sits at a position where it could run up some more. So again, we see ourselves on this rising level of support. And then when we look at the RSI, we still have room to run there, and same on the MACD as well. And so the Big Bear, I see having a lot of big volume in it soon enough. And recently, I actually shifted a lot of my gains from this next stock into the Big Bear. So this next stock is D-Wave Quantum. And so myself, I might have sold out of D-Wave a little bit early potentially, but as a trader, I don't regret it. But D-Wave is hitting all-time highs. And so D-Wave today at $12.07 had an absolutely face-ripping rally. And we know with D-Wave Quantum recently, they have been on a massive uptick. So they were right on this level of rising support, and they recently had this bounce off this support, and this was off the amazing earnings that they released. And so going into their last earnings report, we expected a revenue of 10 million. They blew that out of the water and they hit 15 million. And so D-Wave saw a lot of momentum from that. And then today, the overall quantum computing sector in general saw a lot of gains because the whole sector rises together. And another quantum stock, QUBT, announced some good news. And so to any investors that are in that quantum computing stock, which is quantum computing, congratulations. They saw 35% gains in that stock today. And so the quantum computing stock, a very volatile quantum computing sector, a very volatile sector of stocks, and these stocks could seriously run up quick. And so myself, I was in a lot of options contracts in QBTS, and I actually, from this play alone, saw an 89% jump in my portfolio. And so I had to take the opportunity here to take some profits, despite knowing that it could run higher. So I am very bullish on QBTS, but currently I have sold out of about 90% of my position in this stock. And that is just because when looking at technical analysis, there is the possibility that we do see a cool off. So the markets in general, macroeconomic trends have been getting better, but if there is a little bit of a black swan event or something negative in the markets coming up, we could see a bit of a sell-off, which would be a predictable trend in this stock, as there has been this rising level of support and then resistance. And each time it tapped up on this rising level of resistance, there was some cool off. So it does appear right now we could go a bit higher, possibly up to $13, but D-Wave right now is in a volatile spot. So when we look at the RSI, we are in levels of overbought. And then also when we look at the MACD, we are also high there as well. So if you are going to invest into D-Wave Quantum, I advise you to do with some caution. That's not to say that I am not bullish behind D-Wave Quantum. I am very bullish behind the whole quantum sector in general. It's one of my favorite sectors to talk about. But like I say, when I saw that 89% jump in my portfolio, I would be a fool not to take that. And the way I did that, by the way, was with options contracts. And so if you don't know about options contracts and would like to learn more, please drop a comment in the section below. Say something along the lines of, I want to learn about options contracts, because in my opinion, options contracts are the greatest financial tool ever created, and they could seriously provide exponential return on investment. And so with all the investments that we're talking about, these are high flying volatile stocks, and those are the absolute best when it comes to options contracts. This is a book I recommend picking up. So I recently just bought this. This is the and I already knew about options contracts, but it's always good as an investor to increase our knowledge and to better ourselves. So I bought this book here. It's a massive read, as you can see, but it is Options as a Strategic Investment. And this book even says that if you're going to play with options, how I have been playing with call options, that you want to play with very high flying volatile stocks, which is exactly what BBAI is, and then also D-Wave Quantum. So if you're playing in this sector of stock that we're talking about, I seriously suggest getting into options, because in these plays, you could see 50% jumps in the stock, and then you could see your options contracts gain 500% in value at times, 1,000%. And I am not kidding. These are real numbers. So many times when you hear of someone talk about a potential wealth opportunity, it may sound too good to be true. But with options contracts, it really is true. It's absolutely insane. And so talking about options contracts, an options contract where I saw 1,200% return on investment last year was with this stock here, and that is Soundhound AI. And so first time we ever talked about Soundhound was right when it was around $4, and it ripped all the way up to 24. So the options I had provided a 1,200% return on investment. Absolutely nuts, right? But the stock has fallen quite a bit from that spot. So Soundhound reached back to $7, but in recent weeks, like a lot of the market, we have started to see a rally in Soundhound. And so Soundhound also is on this rising level of support, and it was also rejected by a level of resistance. So right around $12, which sits at a major level of resistance in Soundhound. So Soundhound, after it trailed off from being around $24, its two major levels of support and resistance were right between $12 and $15. So it's sitting right here for some time. And so I'm just waiting for a little bit more of a pullback. I do think that we will return to this rising level of support here. And so I'm looking to purchase my Soundhound right when it is under $10. But even though I'm looking for a little bit of a pullback in the short term, I am very bullish on Soundhound over the long term. So this company provides AI solutions when it comes to sound. So they work with a lot of major players in the restaurant and automotive industry using AI sound. Pretty easy to follow the name Soundhound, but this company has really great financials. And so recently, as of last year, they paid off all their debt. And we could see just when it comes to revenue, they have had a 151% increase year over year, net income almost 500%, and their net profit margin 256%. So this company's financials look really great. And when we look at their earnings over time, we could see that they have been on a constant improvement. So you could see the uptick of candles here when it comes to their revenue. And what's most positive about this right here is not only have they increased their revenue, but they have diversified their customer base. And so in the early days of Soundhound, about 90% of their revenue was coming from one customer, whereas now no more than one customer accounts for more than 10%. So they have now a much more diversified customer base, and we see their revenue increasing while they have also paid off debt. So right now, where Soundhound is sitting, we are down more than 50% from that. So myself, I'm very bullish on these three plays over the long term, but I would be curious to hear what everyone else has to say. So please let me know if you're invested in Big Bear, in D-Wave Quantum, or in Soundhound AI. Please drop a comment in the section below with that. Or again, if you want to learn more about options contracts, please leave a like and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Thank you guys all so much, and I'll see you in the next video.